What is up, guys? This is Alex from First Figures.
Hi there, everyone. This is Chuckles.
Who do we have here? Shoutouts Ornstein, the Dragon Slayer. Hey! There you go. Chocks, it's been a long time in coming.
A long time.
This one has actually been a really long time in coming. I think I might have teased this back in 2016, maybe, possibly.
With just the head. Just the head in the hand. 2016, can you believe it? Time has flown. First launch of 2018. Here we are. Dark Souls, Ornstein the Dragon Slayer. Finally, Jocks. Finally, it's come to First Figures. That's the fourth one in the series.
The fourth one in the series. So the first, of course, was Artorias. Second was Sif. Third, Smough Solaire. And then fourth, Ornstein. So, you know, it's been a long time in coming, but here we are, and we're going to get into some questions, right, Chops?
That's right, yeah. So questions basically from our Collectors Club members. So when we do a documentary such as this, we normally post a thread in the club and asking members, hey, if you guys got any questions for Dark Souls, Ornstein, then hit us up, and we've got a bunch of questions to go through.
Cool.
All right.
And it's on Facebook.
Facebook, First Figures Official Collectors Club.
Bada bing.
Yep.
Cool. All right. I mean, look, before we get into that, though, Chops, can we just take a moment?
Yes.
This is.
It's been such a long time. Now.
It's been a long time is one thing, but I think he's probably one of the tallest pieces we've ever made to date, I would say.
Yes.
Certainly got this crazy, you know, spear.
First impression, majestic.
Majestic.
Yeah. It's
majestic, but also with that kind of that sort of brute force, and you know that obviously if you play the game, you know that what he has and stuff like that. But I just love the design. FromSoftware came up with an amazing design for this. It just looks great. Why don't we give it a? Should we give it a bit of a
yes. Which way? Ooh.
Yep, there it goes. Awesome. Just about, because this is a heavy boy. Just
piece.
about the old lady who can turn it. But you know, definitely in terms of the design itself, that FromSoftware came up with, just amazing. It's been such an honor, such a fantastic privilege to actually be working on the physical and getting that right, and working on that over the last couple of years. So, absolutely chocks. All right, shall we kick in with the questions?
All right. So before we start, just be careful with that spear because it's very long, and that thing is coming right towards me.
Right now, you guys can see it from the side. It's got that nice length going on. Got that nice length going on.
All right, ready?
Yeah, right.
All right, first question from Hina Shinohara. Did you ever stop in the middle of the process to consider having Smough and Ornstein, or was it 110% Ornstein from the start?
That's a great question. So you got to be careful. So right now he's trying to pierce your forearm, your bicep.
I'm all right now. I'm safe.
So just give me a bit of a give me a warning. Help a brother out, right? If it comes.
Cool.
But what I'd like to just sort of talk about, of course, this question really asks to the question of how do we even get to the point of actually making Ornstein, and that whole point of how we got here. I mean, we can talk about Smough in a minute, but if we actually talk about Ornstein, it's something that we actually. Sorry, guys, it's feeling a little bit uncomfortable there as he came towards me.
I know.
And back in 2016, I ran a sort of question on Facebook asking people which were the characters that people would like to see, and of course Artorias was up there, Smough Solaire, Ornstein of course was up there as well. And actually, if you actually talk about Smough, not actually sure where he wasn't too highly popular in the line, but you know, it's definitely something that we wanted to first concentrate on Ornstein himself, and it was definitely something that we paid attention to that. Now, can we just also talk about the Dragon Slayer in the room, right? Ornstein or Ornstein, Chops?
I don't know. I always called him Ornstein.
And it was quite funny when
everyone knows who I'm talking about anyway, so that's fine.
But it was really funny how it was almost like a moment when people were talking in our club and talking in the Dark Souls Dangalangs, another group on Facebook. They're talking about, is Ornstein or is it Ornstein?
but we just call him Orny. We've got nicknames, right?
There you go.
We've got Artie.
But if you call him Orny, you wouldn't call him Ornai.
Ornai. That's true. Orny sounds cute.
Indeedy. So in terms of Ornstein himself and having him with Smough, it was definitely, and of course you might be a Smough fan.
Yeah, Smough or Smough.
It's definitely something that
come up with a nickname if we were to do a Smough or Smough.
Right.
Smoughy. Smoughy.
Or Smoughy. But in terms of actually thinking about doing Smough, it would definitely be something that we want to look in later, possibly, maybe at a different scale, whatever it may be. But certainly at this, because obviously he's massive.
Yeah. Different scale or different pose. It depends, really.
Sure. And that's definitely something that if you guys are really interested in seeing that, you can, as always, come to our club, talk about that, and rally support for that. And obviously we all
because if you guys play the game, as you know, they fight as a pair.
They do
in the game as a.
So Hina's asking a really good question, of course. So it's, you're in that sort of cathedral place, the lovely location. But it's a boss fight together, and in terms of actually making him separately and making him on, it made sense that he was more of a fan favorite, and it made sense just to have him focused himself only. When you consider the pricing of these,
but he's also part of a different lore, right?
Well, you know, he's of the Knights of Gwyn as well, so there are other guys in the Knights of Gwyn, Artorias being one of them. You know, so maybe you can gather some information from that itself. But yeah, you know, in terms of Ornstein, it was always going to be him solo for now. So there wasn't any consideration for Smough at the time.
Okay. Alright, cool. Good answer. Alright. Next question from Fledge Rondo. That's a new name. Can you tell us about the artists, the tools they use, their process?
So, you know, that's a great question. So, the way it works is we work with the... Oh, you know what? I see Uncle Scabs has actually asked us a question as well. I think I can tie them together.
Okay, let me mention that as well. So from Uncle Scabler, well, John Scabler.
Uncle Scabs.
Were you able to use the game model as a base, or did you have to start modeling from scratch?
Right. Okay. So you can kind of pair them together. We talk a little bit about the artist. The artist guy is a guy called AJ. Fantastic guy. Been working with him for many years.
Has he worked on other Dark Souls piece? This is his first one.
This is his first one. Okay. He's been working on some other pieces that I've made.
Guys, if you like his creation here, you know, maybe he can carry on working.
Well, I mean, look, we were of course. But, you know, in terms of how it works is, they usually start with a game file. We weren't actually provided a game file from FromSoftware from this, but we were given sort of references in terms of pictures and stuff, so we had to create that from ourselves. But you know, the way it works is the artist and I work very, very closely together, and sort of looking at each area, it takes a long time to get the details right. So we do start from scratch. For this one we did, and it really is it starts with 3D process, and it's done in a software called ZBrush, and from there you can then, ZBrush is fantastic for sort of very organic shapes. Now that's quite interesting that we talk about that when he's wearing quite hard surface. We'll call it hard surface because that is what the armor's like. But you know, from ZBrush is very, very versatile, and from there we will manage to go ahead and create this piece just like that. And it's a lot of back and forth. It's a very slow process when it comes to this sort of details. Each section has to be looked at really, really carefully, really, really scrutinized. Takes a long time, but you know, the artist, you know, AJ was working with me for this for a long time, and of course, once we were at that stage where I was happy with it, I would then send it to FromSoftware and went, no. And they come back with some other questions, but like, okay, I see that, and that sort of back and forth ultimately comes up with this, what we believe is one of the most fantastic representations of Ornstein that there is out there. So definitely, it's something that is a very slow, painful, but ultimately very rewarding experience.
Alright. That answered both questions?
It did.
Alright then, cool.
Buy one, get one free.
Right. Right, next question from Becca McCookie. What was the most important aspect you wanted to convey when you decided on the pose? Did you want to convey majesty or movement, for instance?
Right, so so now we're talking about the pose himself, the pose itself, and why did we go for the museum pose as opposed to a more action pose,
right?
For example, well, this museum pose, it's not just standing straight. He is standing with some tilt. If I bring this around over here, let me just stop that. Yeah. So if we just have a look over here, Charles. If we turn it like this, I'm looking directly into the camera, just like that.
Yeah.
You can actually see that his body is not quite facing the same direction as his head is. So if you look, his head is facing directly into the camera, right? But can you see that his body is sort of coming out at this angle? It's coming out like that when his head is facing forwards. I don't know if you guys can pick up on that. Because for example, right now, if you look, the head is facing directly into the camera. Smile, say cheese, right? If I turn it like here, that is the middle of the body. So if you look at the middle of the body, you can see that actually he's very, very slightly turning his head. Can you see that, Chuck? He's turning his head to the left rather to the left. This slight movement and turning in the body really helps to give a sort of majestic pose, a bit of a museum pose. But it's also not just having his arms straight, and there's movement in his shoulders as well. Do you see, Chocks, that this arm is more facing forwards and this one is more angled backwards? So it's part of the turn of the body as well, which matches up with the change of the head. So what you get is when you have it looking straight on and straight into the camera like that, what seems to be quite a very simple pose has a lot of small subtleties that basically make it not look, here's the really, really important thing, not look stiff. It's so easy for museum poses to be quite stiff looking. So it was important to be able to give a sense of movement in the pose that wasn't attacking, it wasn't sort of dynamic posing, but it was subtle movements in the character itself, in the pose itself, in order to, first of all, give respect to Ornstein as the character, because when you actually first see him jump down, when you actually end the boss fight, this is his pose that just before the cutscene stops and you have the fight with him. This is how he is. And it really kind of, it made sense to sort of look into that as the kind of pose that we wanted to go for. It's almost like, I mean, how when you actually fight him, do you remember any of the action poses that he does in particular?
Well, sure. I mean, seeing some of the lunge attacks he does.
Sure.
Or he's jumping up in the end,
sure,
striking down, or he's actually throwing the spear towards
right.
you.
And if you consider the size
sure,
of that, we're already pushing the boundaries in terms of how much space we're asking our collectors to have in order to display this piece. That was a consideration in terms of having the pose to be like this, not so big and open spaces that you have lots of areas to make the actual footprint much, much, much bigger. I'd seen some people talk about possibly having a bent up arm, and then but that wasn't really from the cutscene that I was really talking about. And I think this is actually much more regal, much more majestic, and I feel it gives a sense of power.
Yeah.
The way he's standing there, kind of cool, very, very powerful, can get you anytime, that kind of feeling. And certainly the amount of times that I've died trying to beat him. Right. It's definitely really allowed for us to get that pose down, to have that sense of power, because everyone who knows Ornstein, of course, if you don't know Dark Souls, perhaps it doesn't quite come across as much, but if you know Ornstein, you know how strong he is. You just know you're in for a really tough battle when you see him, and if we wanted to really give that kind of, this is what it's going to be just before you have that fight, because the fight is one of the more memorable boss fights ever, not just ever. in lots of different games, and I really wanted to let people remember that feeling just before you go to war with Ornstein. So yeah, that's lots of different factors. So the first factor, of course, was museum suits his character in the way that's how you see him at the cutscene. The second one, of course, is that you can have a slightly smaller foot space without going something too dynamic, and still have that kind of regal museum sort of feeling to it. And if you also consider how Sif is, you consider how Solaire is, and you consider how Artorias is. Did I say Artorias?
Artorias, Sif, Solaire.
Yeah, right. Those three, they're all in very sort of museum-esque. It's not like wildly going crazy.
So you instantly recognise them from the game because that's kind of the pose they take on.
Exactly. So the word is it's quite iconic to him.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Cool. All right. Next question from Jeremy Beerson, our lovely admin. What's a detail from software asked for that most players wouldn't notice from the game?
It's a good question. A good question. Well. Yeah, you know, there's definitely some of the details on the spear and the way that we had to design the spear. There was definitely some things that we had to tweak to get that right. It was, you know, pretty tough to get that the actual designs going along certainly this sort of area.
Yeah.
There was, you know, in terms of, well, first of all, it's kind of, you know, yes, of course you can pause the game, but do you really get, when you're normally just rolling around it, do you really get much chance to sort of sit down and actually look at all the details? I don't think there's particularly, I guess if you pause the game and sort of looked at it, you would be able to see all the details that you see here. This is a very accurate representation of Ornstein. I would say the beauty of this, of course, is he's not going to all of a sudden start fighting you. So you have that ability to pause and actually appreciate the details from the actual game. So in terms of things that you wouldn't have known, you know, I think you would know it all if you pause the video, but if you had a chance to pause the video, sorry, not the video, you know, the game, you'd have a better chance to sort of see it. But, you know, whilst we're on this, this question, Charles, should we talk about the detail? Let's go from top to bottom.
Alright, cool. Alright, where do you want to start?
Well, why don't we start with the helmet itself? What kind of face do you see there? Is that a human face?
No. A lion.
It's like a lion, and you can really see that in the nose. It kind of, that kind of snout look. It kind of looks like an animal snout, right?
Yeah.
So you've got that really flatness over here that you've got going on over here. Now, if you actually, I don't know if you can see it, if it picks it up, but if you look from the side chocks, what do you see along here?
Along the what's teeth or?
Yeah, so you can see the teeth from the side, but you can't actually see the teeth from the front. You can only see the teeth from the sides. And it's like this amazing layered helmet. Do you see that, Chocks? So was it 3 layers?
3 layers.
So you have this layer here, 1, 2, and 3. It's really, really lovely layering on top of each other. I mean, the design is so amazing by FromSoftware. This is really, really cool. So it's such an honor to be working on it.
Same as the back as well, it's like there's subtle layers as well. I mean, it's not so obvious compared to the front, but on the back of the helmet, you can still feel, it's very thin layers, but there's still layers.
Ridges and stuff like that, yeah, no, for sure. And you know, it's love looking at it, to be honest with you. And if we talk about the actual, can you see the effect of the weathering, not just by the painting, but his armor is not clean.
Right, it's like definitely battle damage, scuff marks.
Yeah, you can see the scuff marks, you can see the cuts, you can see that the guy's been in wars. He's still standing, the other player is not. The question is, who will be standing after your fight with him? But you know, definitely you can, as you said, the teeth, the face, the armor going down his neck, the whole sort of, that would be a nice sort of bust, to be honest with you. Just that part. Just like the head part, almost like a helmet, looks really, really unique, really, really stunning. So, how about the red of the hair, Jocks? Have a look at that.
I mean, before the sculpt, how it's kind of like twisting around from this section here
Absolutely.
going all the way down to the bottom.
Absolutely, and you call it exactly right. You see that kind of like spiral effect going on there. Along with that, there's still these beautiful hairlines cutting all the way down there. You can see it coming all the way beautiful with some black washing in there to really highlight each strand.
Right.
So the overall effect, of course, is this beautiful gold and red combination. If you go down to his chest chops, what are you noticing again?
Again, you get these 6 extra, what do you call them? Kind of emerald-looking rubies. The chest has these gems on the top, but again, what you see with Ornstein in his helmet is that you see throughout the whole body is just tons and tons and tons of different layers, Chocks. Yeah.
Did you see that on the chest as well? The layers over here. So you have 1, 2, 3, and some internal layers as well over here. And just how, if you look down the rest of it, if you look at the sort of skirt.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
6
It's
layers.
not just the layers, the actual patterns as well. Especially for me, I like the pattern on his back.
Which part? Around the back of the back?
Around the back there, where it kind of arches in. But you see all the patterns, the lines, the sculpt lines.
Yeah, and if you look at his hand, what do you see in his hand? Is his hand, what color is it?
Well, you get apart from the gold itself, you also have the inner lining of like the kind of the gloves, right?
There you go. Yeah. So that's exactly what I wanted to say.
You see, you can see on this much better with his hand.
Yeah.
Behind.
So you have, and maybe even what you can do is if you look from the side over here. So if you turn this one around about here. Yeah. Can you see, Chocks, that you have the individual fingers? And the great thing about those fingers is it's not, a lot of times people will sculpt and they'll just do a closed fist and put it directly on it, but when you have a length like this, actually the hand, the way it grips is more like that, as opposed to like this.
Because it's holding that spear down.
Exactly.
So the hand form, the fingers will be at a different angle.
Exactly, and you can see them individually. You can see how that's got that sort of almost like a stare effect. Yeah. But inside that, you can actually see what we talked about, the internal glove, which is you can see a little hint of red.
Yeah.
Do you see that, Chocks? So if you look over here,
it's not just the hands. It's the.
So if you look over here, right, you can see how you have the details of the red coming through to the fingers as well. We'll do some overlays of that to show you guys. But
and that follow through with the same red by the.
There you go.
What do you call it? The
elbow joint.
Elbow joints.
Exactly. So you caught it exactly right. So the point is, yes, he's golden, but actually what he is wearing this kind of red, sort of cloth material, right? Yes, a sort of red cloth material. It's like an inner suit, as you said, and it's got
underneath. Sorry, it just keeps going all the way underneath the armpit area.
Exactly. But look, check this out as well, and I'll show it to you first so you can see it.
Yeah.
But if you look at if we show it from behind again, we're most likely going to have to do overlays here because it's really hard to see. But if you look sort of inside here,
back of the biceps,
back of the triceps, right in the ridge, sort of in the sleeve area, can you see that it's wrinkled? It's like cloth material wrinkled. Can you see that, Charles?
Yeah.
You see that? See how it's like wrinkled
and creased and stuff.
It's creased. So you know that there's a bit of vulnerability there because he's not completely. There are obviously, if you can get there, good luck. But right in the armpit, he doesn't have any protection there, as an example, right? And as you said, looking at his hands, he has these fingers that on the top of them, they have those beautiful golden armor on the top of that. So this whole thing is full of different colors of red, silver for the chain metal.
Yeah, on the back.
Yep, and on the front, in the skirt, you've got that, yeah.
Everyone knows the weak spot is on the back.
Right, there you go. These beautiful golds, the beautiful silvers from the chainmail, the reds from the actual, from the inner cloth, and of course the red of the hair, but that's really Ornstein's thing, red and gold. Yeah, it just really makes it pop. Those little, because if you made it all completely gold, you could almost say, yeah, it's just all gold, but no. If you look very, very carefully, there are different subtle highlights of red within the internals. So you've got to really sort of get in, have a look, see how it
how the engineering works for how it's coming out on top, how you have the chainmail on the back, all that sort of stuff. It's really...
And the inner suit has a different texture compared to the red skirt. I mean, you can see the inner suit, the back of the legs as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's right, because
it's kind of like behind the skirt right now.
Yeah. And you can see how you can see how there's all this fraying on the bottom of the actual raggedy
It's
skirt.
very similar to Artorias.
That's right.
If you have that, then you can understand the actual the style of that.
And that was actually a pretty difficult area as well to get that right with regards to a lot of back and forth, was the kind of raggedness and having to make sure every time I try the raggedness going through the bottom over here, that was something that took us quite a long time to get right. It was quite a lot of back and forth with FromSoftware on that.
So you can imagine how many layers there are. It's not just the arm that has layers, it's the actual inner chain.
Well, you can see the chainmail was on top of the red skirt from the back. You can sort of see that. So there's definitely lots to think about, lots to design, lots to take in. If you have this in your collection, you can get to see all of these different things without worrying about getting attacked right afterwards. But even the shoes, they're not sort of plain shoes. No, they have layers in the shoes themselves. Golden, beautiful armor set, and it's just love it. If you look at the way the elbows are done as well, or this sort of area over here, you have that layered effect. The whole armor itself is just layered and layered.
The elbow guards and the shoulder guards as well. Tons of layers.
Yeah, and actually, if you look from the actual back and you see the way it connects, like along here, show the camera, you can actually see how the armor layers are actually coming out from underneath each other to create that stepped effect. To show you over.
Yeah, they can see it
sort of just about over here. Yeah, you sort of really sort of see it from that angle.
This side as well, the inner part here.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's such, the reality is we made this such a long time ago initially, and there were some things and difficulties that we had, and we'll come back to that. It took quite a while to get right, but in terms of being able to go back and refresh my mind and seeing it all and seeing it in the physical, it's just, it's really nice.
Still looks good 2 years later.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I'm very happy with how it's come out. For sure. Yeah, it's looking good.
And obviously the spear itself, I mean,
is
that a meter long?
What? No.
The actual spear?
No.
No?
We measured it.
Ages ago. not 2 years ago, but ages ago.
Okay, come do it on this side, Conor.
No, not quite, actually.
We'll do it later.
Yeah, we'll do that later, sorry.
Jumping the gun. Yeah.
Alright. Do you want to move on to the next question?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, no, go ahead.
Next question. Alright then. Alright, next question from Samuel Jesse Garcia. Would you ever consider Smough as a scaled down companion piece?
What is up, South Cantus? All I would say to that is, we go back to Keena's original question about whether or not to do Smough or Smough. The answer to that is, we would really, if we were going to do a piece with Smough in the same scale, I think it would have to be a separate piece, and it would have to be created as a diorama, smaller down version, maybe maybe an Ornstein would be maybe, I don't know, 10 inches tall, 12 inches tall maybe. It's a bit big. That's quite big actually. Maybe I don't know is the answer. The answer is, we would love to hear your opinion. I'd love to see if you guys think that's something that you guys really want to see. We can always look into it. But in terms of, do I see them particularly, unless there's huge demand, I don't really see us making it to scale with Ornstein right now.
The hammer itself.
Hammer itself is bigger than him.
Yeah.
Just the hammer. So, of course, we would have to see if you guys really wanted that. Of course, we're always happy to hear and listen to any feedback based on that.
Right, cool. Right, next question from Natalie Contz. Given the issues that happen with Artorias' plume, what, if anything, are you doing differently with Ornstein's?
Okay, so for
what
happened with Artorias was we had put a wire inside the plume, but unfortunately, because of shipping and what have you, there was a small percentage. Bearing in mind we made quite a lot of them.
Yeah.
where there was a crack at the plume, and I can absolutely say for 100% sure that this hair will be separate.
It's a separate piece.
The spear will be separate, so you don't need to worry about those in particular breaking, but we'll certainly do a drop test. At the end of every production, I do a behind the scenes production video, and in that I will do a drop test, and I'll show you how many times I can throw it and see what happens afterwards. But gives you a better idea that we've certainly learned from what happened with Artorias and the plume, and hopefully that will be okay for Ornstein. Good question to ask though.
Yep. Alright, next question from Devon Wenstrom. To both Alex and Chuckles, what is your favourite aspect of Ornstein's design and why?
You know, I think it's his uniqueness, and I love the lion head is one thing. And when you talk about lions, you think about majestic creatures, king of the jungle. The whole idea of him having been this sort of alpha, when you've got that kind of animalistic sort of part of him, I really like that. And I think the layers is really unique. I really like the layering throughout the whole thing, but also done in a way that is really quite functionally clever. Thinking about how there is the inner suit and stuff like that. So in terms of the main thing I really like, I think it's the design of the head in particular. It gives us, because what it could be is a different head. Everything has the same different head. A head that a human would be in a sort of typical one. Adding that little bit of animal flavor to it, really, really like it. I think I really like that. How about you, Chucks?
Well, I've played the game. I really enjoy this boss fight. Looking at this every single time always reminds me of that game.
It reminds you of the pain.
Yeah. And to me, I feel like it needs Smough, definitely. But again, it's all those complications and issues of size.
All I can say for you to is rally the fans.
Yeah, rally the fans. But definitely, I mean, this is if I had to choose out of the two, I would probably go for Ornstein for sure.
Oh, that's for sure. But I mean, in terms of Devon's question, what is the favorite aspect of the design? Do you like in particular?
The whole thing. There's no in one particular favorite piece. I mean, I like the spear. I like the armor. I like the color. I like the character himself as well in the game. So he's and looking at the base, it's just that is straight from where it is in the actual arena.
I think that's perfect timing to ask the next question, Chocks.
Alright then, cool. Alright. Saying Samuel Jesse Garcia again. Whose idea was it to place Ornstein on a pillar from the boss fight? It's perfect.
2 questions from Samuel Jesse Garcia. That's a bit of favoritism there. Well, this was something that really made sense. This was designed quite a long time ago, and having these pillars smack down in the game, all that sort of stuff was definitely something that made sense for us to do as the base. I thought it would give him, he's already got some height, let's give him an extra bit of height. This is the perfect base. Of course, the alternative is just to have the kind of slabs that you see
in the game.
Yeah, but it's a little bit easy to do that. It's a little bit generic, I should say.
Or have him standing on top of Smough.
All right, mate.
And then Smough standing on top of Ornstein.
All right, mate. So, what I wanted to make sure is that the base was relevant to the actual character itself, but not too overpowering. Now, this is quite at the very, very borderline of the max in terms of the thickness of the base versus the character. Ideally, it would have been a little bit smaller, typically, but when you consider the length of the spear, it would have been a little bit. You can actually see that you need the reason, like one of the reasons that we needed to have him this high, functioning wise. Look at that. If you look at the length of this and you compare it to the ground, it just has a little bit of clearance. Now, if we made this smaller from over here to here, it's touching the ground. So we had to raise him to allow it to have this pose like this. Otherwise, it would never be able to do it. It would be smacking into the ground. So the base served 2 functions, Chocks. The first one is it's in the game. You instantly know if you've been fighting him before, you recognize this beautiful, beautiful kind of bronze effect going across the internal part of the pillar. Sorry, the outer center part of the pillar. And of course, you have this the bottom of the pillar itself, and that's exactly how it looks like in the game. And on top of that, you have the smash down pillar when they get knocked down and stuff.
Yeah.
All three things, you know, the top, the smash top, the beautiful original design, because you have to think it's beautiful destruction. This was a beautiful, beautiful setting. It was a beautiful pillar. It looks absolutely stunning. And then what happens? You get into a fight, you start smacking it all down, it all comes down. Right? To be able to have this and basically take that from the game, it serves the purpose of, number one, being related to the game, related to the fight. Secondly, the height of it allows us to functionally actually have this spear, make that clearance from the ground. And you know, the third one, of course, is just a aesthetically very pleasing base to have in terms of the different details in there. What do you tell us a little bit about the details, Shots?
Oh, basically you see the, I won't say flower, but kind of very detailed.
That sort of pattern.
Pattern, yeah.
Can you see how it's been cracked down the middle at the front?
Yeah. And the edges as well, it's all like kind of chipped away.
Yep.
And then you see all the like I said, the cracked pebbles, the remains of the pillar scattered on top of the platform.
You know, definitely. So you can see, yeah, as you said, the crackness on the top from the destruction, the original beautiful ornate design going around the middle part, and of course the bottom of the base. So you know, the bottom of the pillar, I should say. It looks really great together, and hopefully you guys agree. This is you know, how I think of the perfect base form. And you know, if we ever to do small, you can imagine maybe not even having a base or having a very thin base.
Yeah.
In order to have him shorter, you know, sorry,
lower.
Yeah. So you have this much extra space to have a small himself. So yeah, this is one of the things to think about.
All right. Last but not least, from Mr. Andy J. Vahama. Can I use the spear for kebabs?
Now that would be cool. So what, you would put on some bit of meat on the front there and then just stick it over the fireplace and help yourself. I think it's quite possible. I would love to see you get one and show us whether or not it is.
Barbecue.
Barbecue that.
Yeah.
What would you barbecue on that?
Well, nice steak.
Nice steak, yeah?
Yeah, nice steak. Don't try that. Don't try it at home. This is not metal.
Indeed, don't try that at home.
Try that.
So yeah, Chocks, you know, that is basically the design of the character, some of the thought process that went behind making Ornstein, some of the details that you can expect to see, all that sort of good stuff. So it's definitely something that has been, you know, really, really looked into, really, really researched, and hopefully you guys like what you see and you think that this is a good representation of Ornstein we hope you do. Shoutouts.
Alright, shoutouts first this time, okay? There you go, all yours.
But what are they?
What are they? You should know that by now, guys. But shoutouts are basically part of the same thread that was mentioned earlier on in this video, where randomly I will post a comment saying, hey guys, first 10 peeps to reply to this comment will get a shout out from Alex. So make sure you check that out every single time we make a documentary.
Without any delay, further delay, shout out to Brendan Rastello, lovely admin. Shout out to Ashley Pace, where's Eric? Yo, Derek Baker, how's it going, mate? Travis Murphy. Shout out to Marcel Bloch, how's it going, Bang Lee? How's it going in Vegas? Shout out to Jennifer Traynor. We have Stephen Reynolds, how's it going in Canada? Cedric Bardot, how's it going? And last but not least, Becca McCookie, shout out. Easy peasy,
easy,
lemon squeezy. Chucks.
What next?
Everything that you've looked at just now is the regular version. If you don't know if this is one of your first experience with First Figures, we do a regular version, but we also do an exclusive version, which comes with a little something extra. Now, one of the things that it comes with is this beautiful art print that complements this piece And we don't, unfortunately, don't actually have it here right now, but we worked on the design and we can overlay it now. Okay. If you can see it, you know, it really has that beautiful, beautiful scenery in the sun. When you actually do your fight, it makes total perfect sense. You can see him on the cracked pillar, you can see behind the other pillars behind him, the beautiful sort of church design. The windows with the light pouring through it, and just overall a fantastic companion piece, you know, to have with the actual statue, to display with the statue. And what you'll know is the actual statue and the actual pose of Ornstein in the art print itself is exactly the same. So it does look really good behind it. So,
and, guys, I mean, this is not the first time we've done an art print. For the previous statues in the same line, Artorias, Sif and Solaire, each one of those have an art print as well. And if you look close enough, there's an Easter egg in each and every one of them.
Indeed.
Yeah. And that comes with the exclusive version.
That comes with the exclusive version.
So as Alex was saying, this is a regular version. I'm going to tell you straight away, basically this regular piece comes in 3 separate pieces. So again, the hair is removable for shipping purposes, and then the base is removable from the body itself, so really simple. Is that right?
And the arm.
And the arm is removable for the regular as well?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, we need to just 100% double check on the engineering.
Double check on that first,
yeah. Well,
So potentially 3 to 4 pieces then?
Yeah, I think, you know, for shipping purposes, they should be separate. But Chocks, there's more. It's, as we said, it's
there's
the
always
exclusive.
more, isn't there?
There's always a little bit more. And what we wanted to show you is Chocks, when we fight Ornstein, what happens? Yeah. How does he attack you? You said there was a couple of different ways.
There's a couple of different ways. He lunges at you with his spear. And he always also throws something at you. His lightning spear.
Well, if you're going to say that, then I'm going to stop it right here. Let's do it. Guys, check it out. Move that. Chocks, you do it. Bring it around to your side.
Yeah, bring it around to my side. I know.
You know what you're doing.
It's very hard to remove pieces.
Yeah, we've got looking at. Be gentle.
See, guys, that. So then from that.
Alright, this is for me.
You want to hold that?
No, that's for me. And this, my friend, is for you. Check that out.
That.
Look at that.
Lightning from tip
to tip. Tip to toe. Tip to bum. Look at that, guys. This is the exclusive version, has the lightning spear on that. Let's get a look at that, Chocks.
Alright.
Look at the way the lightning is.
Yeah.
Lightning, no one's ever had it in their hand before, but does it look straight to you, or?
It's like really jagged and sharp edges.
There it is. Absolutely right. And check the way that looks. So in exclusive versions, you will get not only the regular spear, which we just took off, you also get this additional spear itself.
2 spears.
2 spears and an art print. Well, I mean, 1 extra spear, I should say, and an art print come with the exclusive version of Ornstein. And this was really quite tough to make, Chocks.
This is why it took 2 years, right? No, how long about?
Yeah, not quite
2 years, but
this was definitely the last sort of 10%,
yeah,
and it took 90% of the time. And the reason why this was so tough is that the lightning itself, as you know, it's a bit loud now. It's become heavier. It is all of a sudden.
Just have the lightning shown.
Yeah, so like that. That's okay. We'll keep coming around. But what is the difficulty of this thing is the fact that the shape of the shape. We basically took a long time on the spear, and the shape of the lightning, having like this, going all the way through that, was pretty tough to do. And in fact, you know, this will ultimately be made in, and the way it's been done is quite tough. Right now, this is made in a just sort of like prototype material, sort of called PU, but the finished piece will actually be, this will have to be done in PVC, the way this is done, right? So this will be the lightning effect only, just to go through there. The thing about this, Chocks, is you may have noticed when this comes around over here, what do you see on the back, Chocks? Have you been paying attention? I know you've been avoiding the spear every time it comes towards you, but have you noticed anything on the back?
On the back of what? This
of the base.
Here? Back of the base. Oh yeah, I'm talking back of the base there.
What's that?
It's been there all along.
I know. If you've noticed it, what else do you see there, Chocks? You see a knob.
Yeah.
And do you see something else there?
Yeah, you get the USB in the
LED charger light indicator. Yeah. So this basically comes with a battery inside that allows you to recharge it and replace it. It's a rechargeable, replaceable battery that allows you to. We basically engineered this. Oh, let's not talk about it. Why don't we just show it, Chocks? Now, it's really, really bright in here. And in fact, you can't actually really see the effect. I mean, I'm turning it on now. Okay. Right now, you can't actually see too much change in this really, really bright environment. And the reason for that, Chocks, is that this crazy shape for the lightning actually has a kind of wire that goes through here.
Right.
And it goes through each section all the way to the end. It's an engineering nightmare. It took us a long time to do it, because when we start overlaying some shots right now, you'll be able to see how it looks in the complete dark, so you get a better idea. And to be clear, guys, this is not very strong in the daytime to be able to see that movement, because it's inherently to do with this type of lighting, Chocks. Now, let me explain the two different typings. This is called an EL type of lighting, right? And that means that you have the ability to have long, continuous light. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, you know, if you have a look at the 25th anniversary of Sonic as an example, the way that we did that was with single LEDs that went directly through the sort of infinity shape of the legs. If you look at Solaire and you look at the Sunbro Praise the Sun edition, there was individual LEDs that were animated in a way that it created that sort of effect. Whatever it is though, Chocks, you can definitely see the individual spotting of the LEDs itself, if that makes sense, because the LEDs themselves are individual, and it's one dot of light, one dot of light, one dot of light, one dot of light. If you try to put a bunch of LEDs together, the smallest we've ever found them, it still has a gap. And if there's still a gap between it, it also means that it will be the one spot, one spot, one spot, one spot that we have that you have with all LED effects. Now this EL lighting is allowed for us to do one continuous line of lighting. However, it comes at a cost of brightness. But ultimately, I wanted to avoid having dots going throughout the entirety of the spear, if that makes sense, Chocks.
Yeah.
So that is the reason why we went for this type of stuff. And of course, this is not the perfect environment. We have so many lights on over here. With the overlays, you can see that. And of course, it comes with two different versions, Chocks. When I say two different versions, two different modes. You have the single continuous light on mode, and then you have, like, flip the switch. You have a kind of shaking, electricking, you know, pulsing,
kind of sporadic,
that kind of like zzz, kind of effect of a electric, you know, electrical current, that sort of effect going throughout the spear itself, and it really sort of helps lend it to give it a bit of movement to it, because you know he's about to start charge up and it's going to throw it at you or what have you. So, you know, definitely it's hard to see it in the daytime. As I said, you're going to have to do it in the night, but it is definitely, even without it turned on, Chocks, I love the way that this lightning effect has gone all the way through here, and it's from the top to the bottom, top to tail, tip to tail. Looks really, really great. What do you think, Chocks?
Yeah, I mean, it's trying to replicate as close to the game as well, where you know he's about to get ready to throw the spear, and yeah, like I say, it took a long time to figure out all these feeding that cable, the lightning cable.
That's right. And it's not just that, it goes all the way through, the engineering of it is really difficult because it goes all the way through the hand to connect to these lightings that then goes all the way up
to the arm,
to the arm, to the shoulder pad. So it really is a lot of engineering work that goes into that to make that come out. You know, really tough to get that done. But you know, here we are doing the video.
Yeah. Finally.
Finally.
Yeah.
Okay, Chocks. So let's just say you've looked at the regular.
Yeah.
You've looked at the exclusive.
Right.
You think, you know, this would go really great in my collection, my Dark Souls collection, my standalone collection, because this is a centerpiece on its own.
Right.
You now want to find that perfect spot in preparation for Ornstein's arrival. Could you please give us some measurements, Chocks?
Sure, yeah.
I'm going to kick it off with the can
dance. Right,
all
so
right.
as usual, is that enough space for you?
Yeah. 1, 2, 3. With 3, I'm still nowhere near Chocks. 4, 5. We've hit the 6.
Yeah.
Just, yeah,
Just about. The hair part is slightly the highest.
Yeah, it's definitely just a shy shorter than 6 cans. Now guys, just to let you guys know, this is our 330 ml cans, which are different to those that our American family has. They normally is 355, I believe, but it gives you an idea of how that is. So if you think about it in cans, see if you can find a perfect spot in your collection with 6 cans high. Okay, so we've got the high Chocks.
We've got the Coke can test there.
Yeah.
Right, for measurements.
A lot of people are going to be interested in this one here, Chocks.
Yeah, definitely. It's not the height they're worried about. Alright guys, so right now I've got the height around about 26 and a half inches high. So that's around 67 centimeters. Yeah. Let's do the width first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is my arm here.
Yeah, so I've got that, I measured that earlier, so it's roughly about, I may have to stand up for this one, just to make sure I've got it right. So the width, all right, from that side of the base to, could you get your hand out again?
Back here.
Back there. All right, so about 22.
Yeah.
Yeah. 22 inches, so that's like 22 inches, 56 centimeters. All right.
Now let's do it from front to back, and if you're assuming it's like that.
Yeah, it's a depth, so I basically measured from there all the way to back.
Diagonally, that makes it along. That you don't need to do it like that because that does the hypotenuse, and that's longer. You should be looking from there.
Yeah. Well, when I measured from the depth, I got it around about 30 inches.
Okay, bring it up closer. Is that like in line with that?
Yeah, it's in line with that.
Yeah, 30, 31.
Yeah. Around about 30, 31.
Possibly.
All right then. What's that in centimeters?
We got. Well, if you go for 30, that's 76, and then I've also got it at 79 at 31.
Right, that's right.
If you go for 31 inches, sorry, 31.
30 inches will be 76 centimeters, and 31 inches will be 79.
So if you just go with one of those, if you go with a bigger one, it would be better to be safe than sorry. So it does have a incredibly large footprint, but you know, it is worth it.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful. Just looks really great.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. And
the weight. Yes.
The weight.
So basically, the regular one, which would be the same spear but without the lightning effects, I've got that at 10.98 kg, just under 11 kg, so 10.98 kg. With the lightning effect for the exclusive version, that's at 11.04.
11.404.
11.04.
And on that note, Chocks, I think I'm going to ask you to lift up Ornstein, because what we're going to do
You're not lifting it up?
No, wait, not 11 kilograms, mate. You work out much more than I do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this away.
Yeah, we don't need that anymore.
We don't need this anymore. And then we're going to do
guys,
some comparisons.
What we're doing right now are for the guys that previously purchased one of our Dark Souls, Artorias, the Abyss Walker, because that's currently out in the market.
Yeah.
So for those guys that really want to compare or kind of.
I think you want to coordinate this a bit better. You know, it's like 3, 2, 1. Oh, I'm dropping it. Yeah.
Hurry up.
Check that out, Chocks.
There you go. Oop, it's off the screen a bit.
Yeah, bring it back. No, put it in the center. It's fine because we'll have a comparison with 2.
Well,
there he is.
You need to slightly to your right. I need to bring the other one up.
Yeah.
You need to move it towards you a bit.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
They are quite big pieces, as you can see. So here we have another Knight of Gwyn.
There you go. Handle your statues with care, guys. Don't carry it like what I'm doing, but is that right?
Yeah.
Do I need to angle him?
Nah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. That Artorias the Abyss Walker, Ornstein the Dragon Slayer is looking very, very tight. And I'll just one over here. We still have the original prototype Solaire's in production at the moment.
Yeah.
There. Bring in Sombro, who is like praising the sun. This is a old original prototype. We had some revisions to the edges and stuff like that, but I can't see you, Jokes.
No, I'm alright. I'm alright. I've got plenty of space here, look.
Oh my god. Yeah, you know, so absolutely, Chocks, this is a fantastic collection. Sif, we didn't bust that, we haven't got a Sif in the office,
right.
But you know, Sif as well is also sort of towering up here as well. So it's now
Sif
really
is kind of around about this height, I believe. I think it's like 5.5 cans.
Right, so
yeah.
he's up here.
He's up there, he's definitely up here.
Yeah.
Solaire. Oh, sorry, Sif.
Yeah.
Right.
What do you think, Chocks? How does that look?
Fourth one down the line already.
Yeah. I feel like you can. Yeah, I think it looks. I think they look really, really great next together. They look really, really cool. All right, Chocks. Is there anything you want to add before we call that one wrapped?
I believe. Hopefully, you guys enjoy the video.
Yeah.
So do leave us some comments down below in the video. Please make sure you check out our First Figures Official Collectors Club for more Dark Souls products.
Slightly better. Indeed. All right, Chocks. That's another one wrapped up.
Cool.
All right, nice one.
Nice one.
I'm your host, Alex.
And I'm Chuckles.
F4F is love.
F4F is life.
And we'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Laters.